Welcome back to the show. We are in person today, and so we're filming it. We made a little studio, so hop on YouTube, and you can see my dad's very excitable body language this episode, and we've got him lit with a nice window. He was looking really good,
Man.
and this golden hour is looking good on him.
Looking
So
out at the mountains, it's beautiful.
So tune in on YouTube if you want to try something a little different today.
It's time to get some
SportSense.
You're gonna get some
SportSense.
You better get ready for
SportSense. SportSense.
Dad, hello. How you doing?
Good. Hey, Coop.
Hey, this is really weird because we're 3 feet from each other right now, and we're usually 3,000 miles away from each other, 2,000, whatever.
Right. It is very unusual because I feel like I really got to look at you and pay attention to you.
Yeah.
Sometimes during our other way we do it, I sneak off and looking at ESPN pages, and
I know when you're sneaking off.
Yeah, I'm having all sorts of good fun. So now I got to really pay attention. So
well, yeah, and I got to get past my eye contact aversion or whatever, whatever mom's teased me about over the years.
You're good.
But so
it's fun. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah, my parents came out to visit us to meet baby Benson this past weekend. And we set up a little studio here in my home office. And my dad, he's out of his element here. We got some of my favorite art behind him, my art books, painting from my childhood teacher, Miss Conley, right behind my dad's head. And so anyways, we are in, this is my world.
This is your domain.
Yes, exactly.
I am visiting your domain.
And you're coming to infiltrate with your sports knowledge. And I need it here because
I'm adding to your renaissance, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to make, you got to be able to be broad in your spectrum.
For anybody looking here on YouTube, you can tell there's not a lick of sports merchandise. In fact, we wanted to do like a sports side for Dad and an artsy side for me in the camera. And all we found in our apartment was 2 pickleball paddles and a deflated volleyball.
Hence why we have this whole show, this whole program.
So we're happy to be here together, and welcome to my domain.
It's a blast. We've done this for what, 26, over half a year.
Yeah, so
right?
This is episode 28.
Yeah,
so
28, yeah, so this is a blast. It's a good marking point.
Yeah,
do it in person.
About 6 months. Yeah, you're right.
That's
right.
good.
So
a lot of fun.
Congrats. Actually, almost I guess 7 months. So
yeah, that's nice. Great. Well, congrats to you. You got a beautiful baby boy. So
yes.
excited. It's been a blast. Of course, your mom is the best at babies.
Yeah, they're doing bath time right now.
I like holding him when he sleeps.
Yes.
That's when I'm at my best.
He likes cuddling with you, so you doing good?
It's all good.
Well, Dad, tee it up a little bit. What was on everybody's minds in the sports world this week?
Well, as I've shared with you many times, that the NFL, National Football League, they're the master marketers and promoters of their own sport and their own business. And they seem to dominate the headlines all year long, even though they only play for about 4.5 months a year. Anyway, so this week it was the NFL draft, right? So it was a huge build up to the NFL draft. And there's a couple of things that's changed over the years, especially in the last, 10 or 15 years maybe, but definitely in my lifetime, last 10 or 15 years. What makes it even crazier, and this is not something I do and we don't talk about it much, but I think some of your friends participate. I know you have brothers and there's family members that do, but because of the fantasy football leagues, this has become even crazier in terms of their input and their excitement and the meetings and the times they get together. So
money's on the line every year.
Just a lot of things are prepping and getting their teams ready for next year on the fantasy side. Yeah. So that's huge.
Okay.
And then on top of all that adds the final fuel to the fire. You've got professionals and then really amateur gamblers. The bettors. Betting, of course, it's infiltrated all these sports. It's for good or bad.
It does feel like it's become really normalized. Like
it has.
I see so many more.
Long, did it?
No, I feel like it's like the past 2 years, and now I see commercials for ESPN Bet and Bet MGM or whatever all those are.
When you go online, you're watching a game, and they have in-game bets. And they've got, all you have to do is click, especially ESPN has it on theirs.
Yeah.
Up top, it's called ESPN Bet, right? And you click on that. Not that I know you click on it, and you can make in-game bets, right?
Yeah. Well, and they even without that on the broadcast, don't they show little stats at the bottom of the screen?
Yeah. There's
negative this and plus that.
The line. I'm just saying though, just the interactive part of it now. It's one thing. It used to be again, I never had a bookie, don't know anything about that, making bets, but I hear things, watch TV, all that, right?
Uh-huh.
And it was illegal in most states, unless you're in Vegas or New Jersey, right?
What did?
The betting, but they have bookies, basically illegal book.
Yeah.
You know, a bookie.
I've seen them in movies.
Yeah, they take your bets, and they've got the cash to back the bets. And
Okay.
anyway, it was the mob used to handle it all the time. But the point is, the old-fashioned way of betting is this: you got your bet in like a horse race. Now, I have been to the horse races and seen that, and play. You know, I know how that works.
You reminded me of Nixon. What did he say? I did not inhale, or was that Clinton? Who did
that?
That
was Clinton. Yeah. I did not inhale. Nixon said I didn't do a lot of things, but that was Clinton. Good job. Anyway, but the point is, before games, the bets had to be all in.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, your bet was in before the game started. I mean, that's just
so
how.
Now you can bet part way through again.
You could, they have what they call in-game bets. So they have computer system programs now that's crazy. I'm sure with AI, it's going to be even more crazy. How they can project and give a percentage on who's going to win the game, who's going to score the next goal. They got all these crazy things you can bet.
I didn't think about AI involvement. That's going to be crazy.
It's going to be crazy, I think, from what I've seen. So anyway, all that said, it makes the NFL draft bigger than even ever before.
Okay.
And it was big before.
That's a good point.
But you see what I'm saying? The attention that gets paid now, it's really crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Okay.
So anyway, we had the NFL draft.
And then that's a great intro. And there's a primal side to this that I talked to you about earlier today, which as I've been like learning about it and thinking about it this past week, it's reminded me of when you're on the playground as a kid and you're getting picked for dodgeball or kickball or whatever, and you got your two team captains, and you hope to not be the last one picked, desperately. Which I was usually off digging up rocks on the side of the playground, so I didn't feel this
concern.
I didn't feel that pain too often, but I see it in movies and stuff, and I get how it would hurt. Anyways. So the NFL draft is essentially 32 of those team captains, and you've got hundreds of players up for grabs, basically, right?
Yeah, that's great analogy. And the sad part is you have to ask your mom. She's got one of the saddest stories about that.
Oh, really?
She thought and she probably was. She thought she was a great kickball player in elementary school. They had one of those pick the teams, and she was the last one picked. And it really broke her heart. I know it kills me.
Jeez.
I know. See, you were trying to describe that, but you'll have to ask your mom about that. That was, I felt bad for her, even all those decades ago. Isn't that terrible?
It's like the question, the memes, like, who hurt you?
Right.
Someone hurt mom way back when. That's crazy.
So anyway, that was just when you brought up, I said, no, there's a real life right in your own family that but yes, it has. Yes.
And there's some drama to talk about today in that vein of somebody who got picked really late.
Can I go over to basics? What do you say we do that?
Let's do that,
about the draft, because our audience and who we continue to try to draw in, and we hope to, which, by the way, we had a family gathering for Benson. Some of your in-law family. Several came up and said, well, we love your show. And I love how some of them say, I can't listen to the whole thing, but I listen to bits and pieces, which is really, by the way, I love what you do with the minutes. I know a lot of podcasters do that. Put the minute and headings.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you can find things that are interesting.
I meant to say that at the top of the episode, to go down below in the episode show notes if you need to click specifics. If you want to go to a specific part of this episode.
And they don't have time or don't want to spend time for the whole us going on and on about certain things. Yeah. I like it because you're creative with it. You got good names for it. And
you've been looking?
Yeah, I've looked at it just to see how it looks.
I get pretty silly sometimes. So
and I think it's great. Keep it up. I've only listened. I don't listen to these.
Yeah.
I just don't. I did a week or two ago. I listened to part of one just to hear how it sounds.
Don't get high on your own supply. Isn't that what they say?
Yeah. I'm not thinking of it that way. I'm thinking I might not want to ever do it again if I listen to myself. But anyway, so a little bit about the basics of the NFL draft. Number one is sometime in the mid-April to end of April every year. They have it scheduled way out. And they pick a city nowadays. See, I told you, this is y'all might think I only love the NFL. It's not true. But I just marvel at business. I marvel at marketing.
It's your favorite to watch, don't you think, every year?
Yes.
Yeah.
March Madness basketball is right behind it. But in terms of team, I grew up college basketball more than anything. But I didn't have much exposure. We could only watch the Washington Redskins growing up because that was the local market was DC for us.
Okay.
And it was hard to catch games. And, we didn't get cable vision in our house till I was like 15 or 16. I was the youngest in my family.
Wow.
And that's when we started getting a little bit more games. And when Turner Broadcasting came on, Ted Turner, America's team.
TBS?
Yep.
Is that one?
The
Okay.
Braves. That's why I became a Braves fan, because we got to see the
Okay.
Braves.
Cool.
And then we started getting the Falcons a little bit, Miami a little bit. Anyway,
Yeah.
so I digress. But
it wasn't accessible for a long time.
Yeah.
is what you're saying.
And so, football. Then your brothers playing and just fell in love with football a lot more. And I couldn't play in high school because I had a bad knee injury when I was like 4th, 5th grade. But I played baseball through high school and all these others. But I love football. I should have played football. I wanted to hit somebody bad. But anyway, we played a lot of backyard football.
I feel like you could still get out there and hurt someone.
It was pretty rough back in. Anyway, so they go to a different city every year, and they rotate some of the main ones, and it becomes an event. Well, this year is really fascinating because they usually go to more glamour city, or they go Ford Field in Detroit, or Indianapolis where the Colts play. They do theirs, or the Dallas, of course. The house that Jimmy built.
So
the owner.
You're saying the actual football stadiums will host it in?
Yeah, it's usually in parts of the stadium or parts of the somewhere in that area. Yeah, and people come.
So
it's a huge event.
Do you have to buy tickets, or is it just a public thing?
Well, sometimes it depends where they go and how big they make the area. But some of the areas, they're not always at a big football field. They did it. They've done them in different places, but fans gather wherever they are. They make room for them, and they don't usually have to pay. But if you get in the main area, right, where you got your gear of your team on, and you cheer, and it's crazy. But this year, I loved where they went into Green Bay. They went to Wisconsin and went to where the Green Bay Packers play.
Why does that mean?
At Lambeau Field, because that's kind of like one of the only few franchises, the original.
Oh,
Lambeau Field,
legacy team,
yes,
legacy
absolutely.
stadium.
The frozen tundra.
Okay.
That's what it had all these great names for when you played up there. So that's where they did it this year. So they make a map. It used to be 40, 50 years ago, nobody even knew it. There was just telephones, and they had a little, then they get a little thing in the newspaper. Here's who got drafted.
Oh, yeah.
And just
no press hardly at all.
If you're a researcher, it'd be fascinating to just go back and do a whole montage of the change in the last 60, 70 years of how that took off. But anyway,
everything's a stunt now.
But it really did. It's really cool in Lambeau Field. Anyway, that's a whole nother cool field. So they did that. So sometimes it's time of the year, it's mid to late April. It goes for 3 days. There's 7 rounds. The first round's the big one, right? The first round, they only do that in the first night, Thursday night.
Yeah, to be the first, because it's to be the first one picked to join the NFL. That means you're the most wanted,
right?
And obviously, so it's a big deal if you get that.
So
it's
that's
a big honor.
It really is a big honor to be drafted in the first round, right? So they cut it off. There's 32, and they stretched the team, so you have to get it, kind of watch it sometimes. And y'all might not ever want to do that, but you might get a glimpse of it. Go back and watch. It's fascinating. The first round, they get like 8. I think it's 15 minutes between each team picking.
Okay.
So what's fascinating, and then the other latter rounds, it's like 5 minutes.
Like
in the
late rounds,
it's fast, man. The other days,
I would just be firing them off like an auction at that point, because
they do it pretty quick.
Slow.
5 rounds,
5 minutes to talk about one person that gets picked.
Oh well, no, it's 15 just before the next team has to make their pick.
Okay.
Sometimes it's shorter.
Okay.
The next team up might already know exactly who they want, and I was going to talk about how that works.
Okay.
And they might bust it on up there in 3 or 4 or 5 minutes too.
Okay.
But they ask them to. I know it's marketing.
Yeah.
It's a program that first night.
Yeah, you got to build the tension.
They stretch it up. Yeah, because then it goes to all the sports announcers, and they got the highlights of who they think maybe is coming up the next pick, and all that good stuff. Or they go to commercial.
Sure.
Got to make their hundreds of millions of dollars or whatever. They're millions and millions of dollars. So it's 3 days, 7 rounds. First round is the most important, and it is bragging rights, of course, to be a number 1 pick. So we're going to talk about that a little bit.
7 rounds. Times 32 teams, right?
Yeah, so there's 257 players picked.
That's 7. Is that 7 times 32?
It's got to be, because it's 257. Yeah, it's got to be. Do your math.
Because I'm wondering.
I know it's 257 players.
Okay, I was just wondering if it's if there's bonus selections.
No. It's 200. It's 32 times.
224 is 32.
Okay, so they must have.
So there's got to be
257 players that
I know they exchange people. Teams
are
exchanging.
Okay, we're going to get on that. We'll talk about that, but yeah, that's interesting.
There might be some bonus. There's got to be some bonus ones in there for like the worst teams.
There's no bonus. What is that? There's. I'm trying to figure what it could. There's no way. We'll get back to you.
Anyways,
I got to get back.
7
anyway,
rounds,
this year 257 picks.
Okay,
and that's what's always been. So I'm trying to figure out how that math doesn't work. It's 32 teams, right?
All right. Well, hey, write into us if you guys know what's going
Well,
on
I'm
there.
embarrassed not to. I know that's the number, so I'm not sure how they get to that number. But there's no bonus picks. I know that, so I got to figure that out. All right. Anyway, so what's interesting too, and there's a movie out there called Draft Day. It's okay. It's not like to give you an idea, but they have what called War Room. Each team has a war room, and that's where they got the coaches, especially the general managers, the scouts, and quite often there's an owner maybe in there. Maybe not.
Yeah.
Owner might just be on the phone. Owner might be somewhere in another part of the world and don't care. They
Yeah.
depend on which owner. Some owners got their hands in everything, which that franchise usually doesn't do as well.
Right.
Other owners hire the people to do it and they walk away.
Yeah.
So they call it the war room. And what you just alluded to, you have your predetermined strategy of the players you need. So each team, and that's what also you got to remember. It's a QB led lead, right? Star driven.
Yeah, you're looking for someone to lead your team. They tend to be
top heavy.
Yeah.
In the draft, but it just depends, and how you get your order in the draft is how bad you were the year before.
Yeah, right.
So that always gets the cycle. Try to help each team get better, be more, equal.
Last week we talked about how the Tennessee Titans were the worst.
So they're the number one pick this year.
Yeah.
So it depends what your needs are. Quite often, the worst teams have some of the worst quarterbacks too. Yeah. So they have needs. But so you could have a player who maybe is picked 15th or 18th, who really is going to end up being, in terms of a career with the NFL, they could lead the way and they could be Hall of Fame players.
Yeah.
But they seemed just maybe at the 12th pick, they wanted that cornerback, they wanted that safety, they wanted a linebacker, they needed whatever they needed the most.
Right.
And that was their first pick. They took them. In other words, there's others who maybe would have liked to have taken that player, that defensive player, but they desperately needed a quarterback.
Right.
So they roll the dice and grab a quarterback early. So doesn't really mean they're the best player.
Right.
Probably the all-around best player in this draft by far was the number 2 pick. Interesting enough.
Was that the high? Oh, okay. We'll get to it.
Yeah, we're going to talk about him. Okay. So that's kind of structure. That war room is fascinating, and we've got to get back to that. This is not so. It's not. That's the beauty of it, because teams can make trades right up to the minute the draft starts and all through the draft. Meaning trades of players to get trade cash, trade anything, to trade up in the draft or trade down in the draft.
Yeah, like trade. Like if you get to pick first, if you're the Tennessee Titans, you could trade that first turn.
Yeah,
for something later on.
For big money, for a lot more. A lot of them get additional picks, right?
Yeah.
Somebody's desperate to move up, get a quarterback, or get someone that they really want. Especially usually a quarterback is when it happens. They'll give that team they're swapping them out for. Let's say the number one team happens to have a great quarterback, or they'll swap back 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces, and then they'll pick up like 3 more drafts. They'll pick up a number one first round draft in 2026. They'll pick a 4th round draft in 2025. They get usually pretty rich. The smart organizations a lot of times will trade back a little bit and pick up extra picks.
Okay. So then like next year, you could pick like multiple.
You
guess what I'm saying is like, could I skip? Can I say, hey, I'm not going to take my first turn?
No, you can't skip.
And you guys can have 2 turns, Green Bay or whatever.
Between teams,
and then next year I want to be able to pick twice in that first round.
Exactly. You make that deal.
Okay.
Because what they'll show arrows, and they'll show you the team that gave it away and the one that got it. Next year, even when they make that pick in the first round, let's say Green Bay they'll say Green Bay doesn't have a pick this year in the first round. That Detroit is now taken because they traded their pick.
Okay.
So Detroit could have 2 picks next year in the first round, or 3 if they do the right trades.
So you just make whatever deals you want.
Any deals you want,
pretty
much. They got their rules, but and they got to be done in that 15-minute period.
I wonder if anybody would trade every turn they had for all 7 rounds for like the next year or something.
Never heard anything that crazy, but that's why you're not in the war room and not the general manager. But no, so that's the fun. That's another fun part, because they'll be shocked. Somebody will come up and they always have this podium. They come up. Tennessee Titans pick number,
it's like a ceremony. Right?
And they say the same words over and over in the 2025 draft. And then Tennessee Titans pick, boom, and they drop. Then someone will go out there and say, whoever just traded the number 8 pick to Pittsburgh Steelers come up and they make their pick.
Cool.
So it's a lot of fun. That makes it interesting because it's never static is the word I was looking for. It's never everybody knows it and it stays the same.
Yeah.
Because you got your strategy, you got options one. Let's say the first round, you got options 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players probably ready. It all depends who gets chosen before you get your pick and
Yeah, you rank your top people that you want.
Right.
And so then in the war room, I guess if everybody gets picked that you wanted, then everybody's like, oh my gosh, who do we get?
They've got more left. No, they've got it all. They've got their layers, right?
Calculated.
Yeah, they've got.
Well, what's the point of a war room then if you've already got your whole?
Well, because you start making trades, or especially if you find out two of them got picked before you get there. There might be a debate about who they think. One scout might think, I'm telling you, the number we need this, and then it gets to be an argument between offensive and defense. Offense got to go, I need that tackle. Defense goes, no, we need an edge rusher. I mean, we need something.
They could get fired up in that 15 minutes that it takes to
get after it. It depends on the organization.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is, for the casual fan, and our audience is casual as being probably pretty strong.
Max,
that's pretty. You'll just hear something about draft and see something pass by, and that's it. But for those who love football, love NFL football, and who are into all the things we just talked about,
it can be interesting.
It is. It's
fascinating. Potential to be interesting.
At minimum, you keep your phone. Like your brothers and I and our sports group, you saw, we get on there and we're saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe he hadn't been drafted yet.
Yeah.
And so that's going on all over the country, all over the world, probably every military base, anywhere. The internet has made things so awesome in that way. So
fun.
So that's what goes on. So that's the basic structure.
Okay.
And the commissioner, opens it up, and it's crazy now, but a lot of fun. So maybe our folks might want to take a look next year.
Yeah, I like the that was a great breakdown of kind of what the NFL draft is. Are you? It seems like you're about to get into some specific stories. Okay, yeah, because I'm curious about who these guys are.
That's enough of that. That's probably too much, but we got to lay the foundation.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious. Yeah, who walked off the playground crying? Who was like maybe a little overrated or got picked sooner than expected? Or
we got a little bit of that. I'm going to flip it all the way around and start at the end.
Okay.
Pick number 257 has a name every year. Do you know what his name is? It's a title. Think of it as a title.
It's like a nickname.
I don't
know. Caboose.
Mr. Irrelevant.
Oh shoot! I mean, they still made it in the NFL. That's a rude name.
Well, I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But it's the last man picked is called Mr. Irrelevant.
Wow.
Now, in the years past, there's been a few that's made and done good, but the most famous 2022 draft, Mr. Irrelevant was named Brock Purdy.
I've heard his name, and I barely.
He came in and ended up winning the starting QB job at San Francisco in 2022.
Okay.
And he had such a good year, and they had such a great team. He plugged in really well with them.
Cool.
But he was like the, 20th quarterback taking over 7. I mean, he was the last. He's Mr. Irrelevant. And he takes them all. They go all the way to the Super Bowl.
Oh, wow.
So he, as far as I know, is the most famous Mr. Irrelevant.
Okay.
Right?
Cool.
So it's pretty cool.
Cool.
So I want to get it because we got to give the guy a shout out. This year, it's Coby Gerstner. He's a defensive back from Memphis University.
Okay.
That's all I know about him.
I didn't even know there was a Memphis University.
Oh,
honestly.
yeah. Memphis? Oh, University of Memphis. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Penny Hardaway coaches their basketball. He's a former NBA guy. Anyway.
Sure.
So they got some athletes there. But anyway, that's this year.
And
we say his name just because maybe next year we'll see if he makes the team.
What minor? What's his name?
Coby
Gerstner. So what position does he play?
Defensive back. So that could be a cornerback or a safety. They're in the back.
They're just trying to tackle
chasing receivers usually. Yeah.
Okay. So
that's
cool.
This year.
Well, everybody keep an eye out for Coby Gerstner.
Yeah, we're pulling for Coby just so we can talk about him
this year.
But
I'm still saying he made it in the NFL, so daggone. Good for you.
Yeah. Now that's another fascinating.
Oh.
Your top players that are drafted, especially the first round, they're going to be on a team.
Yeah.
And this is a really good point. I'll make it real quick because we're already deep into this.
Okay.
But those later rounds, they have to go to camp.
Oh.
You only have a 53-man roster. We've talked about this last year. 53 men. And you start. In fact, we started last year at a time where I started talking about them cutting down their roster before the season started.
Yeah.
So these guys will be invited to camp. They're drafted, but they're not guaranteed a spot on the team.
So
or they could end up on the practice squad, or they could get traded.
So, or just get
Or
quit
they get
or cut,
washed out.
or you
Yeah.
you got to go find a job with your dad's insurance company
Absolutely.
or whatever.
Yeah,
Okay.
that'd be sad days, but they might do grocery stores better than that. Uber.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Wait. So, how many of those 257 picks make it onto a team?
you got to go and try out. I don't know. I don't know what the percentage is, but I would say in the first 2 rounds, the first 3 rounds, the greater majority of will be on a team.
Like 80%?
No, I don't know. I would just say the majority. I've never looked up the number. But
Okay.
the first and second round for sure, unless they have injuries or something bad.
Yeah.
They're like your best player. I mean, your first
because they're the
64
first ones
players.
you're picking, yeah.
Man, they're some of the greatest players come in like the second round. You know, the second, third round, just because the needs start being met that other really good teams have. There's certain needs they have met, and they've got a guy targeted, and they have a much more level of success opportunity because they come with a really good franchise. Philadelphia, Kansas City, Rams, San Francisco. You know what I mean? They have really good, because not all of them are equal. We've talked about that. Right. They got crazy owners. They got good owners. They got bad general managers. They got good. Anyway.
Yeah.
So it's a good question, but all of those 250, they definitely don't make the team. Those latter two, round 4, 5, and 6, or 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah.
They hope they will make a team, but they got to go make the team still.
That has that I had no idea.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay.
It's very interesting.
Okay. Well, back to what you're saying.
Real quick tweak to that is some guys, and we had several BYU players like this year. You almost don't want to get drafted in like the 6th or 7th round because you're low priority. You show up because you had to go to whatever team, try out at whatever team drafts you, right? And if you quote go undrafted, there's a whole slew of undrafted that they don't get drafted, and their teams are calling them already, inviting them to camp.
Okay.
And then you, as the player, kind of get to choose which one of those invites.
Oh, shoot.
So instead of having to go, no offense, Chicago, a couple of the other places that they're going to get better, but they've had some real lousy organizations. If you get drafted by them, you're stuck going out to their camp.
And you never get to try out for any other team.
Well, only if you get cut.
Yeah.
Then maybe you'll get picked up in a practice squad or another.
Okay.
But in terms of getting, this year coming up to go to camp, you'll get to choose. You might get offered by 4 or 5, and one of them might be, I got a better shot there. They're lacking a tight end there. I think I know they're tight ends. I think I can do that. So I choose them.
Yeah, you go from being engaged to your local Sally Joe in your local town to all of a sudden being on The Bachelor and all these ladies.
They might not be the best ladies, but you get someone after you, definitely. Well, so that gives you some more control on your own destination. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Okay. So that's another part about the draft is the ones that aren't drafted.
But you have no control over that because you're just hoping you fly under the radar at that point.
At that point you kind of go,
But if you get picked, then
then you go try out that.
You just do your best. Yeah.
But anyway, I always thought it was fascinating.
Okay.
But let's move along because I know I've already taken too much time in this area. But the number 1 pick's the one we talked about, Cam Ward, quarterback.
We haven't talked about it. Yeah,
I told you it was coming.
Oh, yes. Okay. So let me ask this in question.
Yes.
Who was the number 1 pick this year?
Cam Ward, quarterback out of University of Miami.
Okay. Never heard of him.
Well,
so tell us
most talked about quarterback this year. Yeah, we talked about him.
I mean, we've talked about, the only people I've heard about who we talked about, which we talked about the 2 Heisman contenders. Travis Hunter, and I'm sure we'll talk about, and then
Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, well, we've talked about him off the show, but who was the Heisman winner? Travis Hunter?
Yeah.
Oh, so who's the one guy that everybody said should have won the Heisman? They're all upset about.
It might be Cam. It's probably Cam Ward. He was the second.
Okay, we talked about it in our episode months ago.
Yeah,
but anyway.
I can't remember exactly who ended up, but I think I know Cam was there anyway.
Okay. Well, Cam Ward.
Cam Ward's because he went. Remember, you already said the name of the
Tennessee Titans
because they were the worst, and they desperately need a quarterback because they it's such a risk. They try their best, but Tennessee chose their quarterback 2 years ago now, Will Levis, and he's not been able to make it so far.
Okay,
he's not done that well.
He flubbed.
So it looks like a bust, but who knows? Because there's been some these teams quit on quarterbacks pretty early sometimes.
Yeah,
and you still see like 4 or 5 right now starting in the league that were given up on.
Wow.
But they stuck with it. Were backups, and they worked their way back with other teams.
Okay.
And they ended up being starters. So,
to give up on a quarterback, does that just mean the
trade them or cut them? Yeah,
Yeah.
you get the next guy up, or they trade for an older quarterback who's steady, get them in there. That all goes on.
Yeah.
Cam Ward to Tennessee, and that was expected, 100% expected.
Okay.
And then Travis Hunter was number 2 pick, and again, because Tennessee needed a quarterback. This was the big deal.
Yeah.
Not that Travis Hunter was chosen number 2, but who got him? The number 2 pick, I've gone blank who had it, but they got traded up. That's okay. Doesn't matter. They traded out of it.
Okay.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
I had to talk about. Anyway, Jacksonville Jaguars traded out. They moved up.
Okay.
And they traded away some of their other picks.
All right.
Oh, I should know this. I can't
And
remember
so,
anyway,
and Travis Hunter is the one that plays both sides of the field
exactly,
really well, right? Okay.
Exactly. And they've got a great quarterback, a young quarterback who struggled a little bit down in Tennessee, came out with all these high hopes. He was a former Clemson quarterback. Anyway, it's going to be a big help to him offensively.
Okay.
Travis says he wants to play every snap on both sides of the ball. The real pros that say he'll probably be a primary receiver, so play offense a lot more, and then have certain packages, they call them, certain times in which they'll put him in as a defensive back.
Okay.
So he will play. That was what he told every team, whoever takes me, please, I got to play both sides of the ball. He is a freak of nature. We talked about him at Colorado.
Eager beaver, just wants to play the whole time.
He's got to be the most highly conditioned athlete out there.
Because that takes so much energy.
And he has the skill set. But so that makes it interesting. Next year we'll be talking about Jacksonville. Nobody's talked about Jacksonville. It's lucky that franchise is even alive. They have just died.
I was gonna say I forgot that city even had an NFL
team.
They
have died down there. Now they got this. This is going to cause a lot, at least in the beginning of the season, the first few games. Everyone who loves football, we're going to all at least be taking a side glance. How'd that go?
Take note of him.
Look at the highlights, see what happened down in Jacksonville. So he brings a lot of juice, and they'll sell a lot of tickets.
Yeah,
home tickets.
At least at first.
Yep, at first. And if they improve, and he's great. But that was your number 1 and 2 pick. I'm not even going to all the other picks. It's not that kind of show.
There's one big story I'm hoping you'll get to.
So that's where I'm leading into. So basically, that's the story. There's lots of other great picks, and they made trades along the way, and it's a lot of fun. Okay. But so the setup is Deion Sanders, coach of Colorado, right? Yeah. The former superstar, Hall of Famer out of Dallas Cowboys.
You taught us it goes by Coach Prime.
Coach Prime. Remember, he played baseball at the same time for the Braves.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That's crazy.
Playing for the no. That's not. That's Deion. Yeah, no.
Is that Deion?
That's Deion.
Yeah.
Yeah, he played for the Falcons early on. When he played on both
baseball and football.
Yep.
Yeah. So he's a superstar. He was a superstar athlete. Now he's a superstar.
Well, he's
coach, wears a big cowboy hat.
Yeah, he flipped the whole program in Colorado. Now he's still not he hadn't coached in the bigger programs yet, but he did start at Jacksonville State, a smaller school, then got Colorado, flipped Colorado, did a great job, but he definitely brings attention.
Yeah, he has funny
interviews. So here's what happened. This is the crazy setup, and this would pretty much be our last topic. But it just I've never seen ESPN announcers and other announcers really just going crazy, but especially those. You had a whole panel ESPN had. Mike Greenberg is my favorite, and all those guys. And he's a commentator, but he had all the former players. They were just going nuts because earlier last year during the season, at times people were trying to promote Shedeur maybe being the number 1.
Here, set up who Shedeur
is.
Shedeur
is Coach Prime's son. He had 2 sons playing for him, but he's the son who played quarterback.
Okay, for Colorado, this most recent season.
University of Colorado.
Now, was he a nepo baby, or was
he
actually a pretty good
he's really good, and they lacked a good offensive line. They lacked a lot, but he's good. He's really good.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have the physical traits that a lot of these other quarterbacks had. When you got down to speed,
got a little bit of a pouch.
So he's stud, but he didn't have all the. Some analysts said that he held the ball. He got sacked a lot, but a lot of that was his offensive line. But also, if you listen to the analyst, he held the ball too long.
Yeah,
because he's a believer. He's going to make a play. But he got sacked a lot because he held the ball too long. In the NFL, you don't live a whole season if you hold the ball too long. They will destroy you.
Yeah,
there's a big difference between some university player coming after you and then having
monster
best of the best,
1,000-pound man or whatever. Yeah, coming at you full speed.
Right. who are faster than you are and who can close on you and drop you like a anyway.
So scary. Yeah.
So there was some cracks in the armor. But so
he had this son named
Yep.
Shedeur. Coach Prime had a son named
Yes.
Shedeur. He did okay, it sounds like, in college.
yeah, I mean he did
Okay,
really. He had a super high completion percentage.
Okay, so he's good
So
at
he has
passing.
he's
but
a
he did
really good
pass.
pocket passer.
Okay.
He's not that great of runner, or when the play breaks down,
Yeah.
he can't keep it going like some of the.
He's not
great
clutch
quarterbacks.
like
he's-
Mahomes or something.
Well, he just doesn't have that escapability and some of that maybe. I'm just
Yeah.
telling you what some of the analysts were kind of saying.
But he was good enough to be wanted by some NFL teams.
Absolutely. No,
Yeah.
and probably I think by listening to it, he could develop into a really quality NFL
Okay.
quarterback. Maybe not a superstar, anything like that, but a good quality quarterback if he gets the right team with the right offensive line, the pieces around him
Okay.
to help him.
So
So
now,
it's a reasonable bet, in other words.
yeah. He's solid. So
Yeah.
okay, so we
Okay.
know who Shedeur is. So what's the story now?
So the story is Coach Prime, of course, he's a talker. And all the months before, from the end of the season, which, by the way, side note, BYU destroyed them in the bowl, right?
Oh, I forgot about that.
And he had a
Dang.
terrible game because BYU never let them off. They had only scored 7 points up to the last 3 minutes of the game.
Okay,
BYU just mauled them because they had such a great
I
defense.
forgot about that.
So he showed a lot of his. I'm telling you, I think that hurt him a lot by the true scouts and analysts.
Okay.
I think they probably broke that film down and thought, Lord have mercy. He got in some trouble when they had a really great defense after him. So I'm kind of proud about that, but that makes me feel good. But Coach Prime had, Deion Sanders had him set up, and he basically felt confident. He said, yeah, if he's not picked between, I think he should be the number one pick, but somewhere between number 1 and number 5. And this went on for weeks and weeks. That's where I think he'll land. He said, but then he kept carrying on, kept talking a little too much. He said, in fact, I don't know if there's some teams that we're going to really let him go to. Now, see. Right. So I'm getting ready to share the experience of the NFL shield and brand and the NFL coaches and assistant coaches. The world has changed so much.
And he's starting to talk like
they're going to control it. Now, because Eli Manning, the Manning royalty, they did control a little bit what Eli.
Like
when he got drafted,
they got to put him kind of where they wanted.
Well, they made a day behind the scenes. It says he's not going to go play in San Diego.
Okay. But they were good enough.
They want to be in the Giants. They had the deal, so it was done. It was swapped on the day of trade.
Okay.
They made that done. So that was behind the scenes deal that they pulled off.
Okay.
So he kind of was trying to do that.
Yeah.
Trying to control a little bit.
Sounds like he was pretty public with it, though.
Right. So exactly.
It's like your dad.
Basically, he was so, I think, arrogant about it and felt like he had that much sway.
Yeah, it's like
he put the word out. Basically, these teams don't draft them because he's not going to play there.
It's like if prom was coming up in high school for me, and mom went and said, "Just so you know, you girls are not going to be going with my son, but so don't plan on even getting an invitation from him."
Right.
It's kind of like it's just puts a bad taste in your mouth.
Yes.
Yeah. I never went to prom, whatever.
Sorry, buddy, but so that was going on his end, okay? And then Shedeur, who everybody says is an incredible teammate, great guy.
Okay.
I mean, no, we're talking about the quality, no issues, no problems, super teammate, good, really strong leadership skills.
So just his dad's got a big mouth.
Yes, but what we didn't talk about, there's pre-draft interviews, combines, and apparently someone was debating whether Shedeur was just extremely confident in himself or overconfident, cocky. And I think he's more just very confident. And I think that some of his answers. So here's where I was getting into the shield and to the NFL
brand.
No, the whole machine, the machine NFL, which makes, this is where I was getting to the assistant coaches and things like that. Assistant coaches don't make a ton of money in the NFL like you would think, but they don't, not the assistant.
Yeah.
Some of the ones that get the work done, the grinders.
Yeah.
Right. Head coaches.
They're proving themselves and
they're
working
proving and work so hard, but they don't. They may be more than me and you, maybe, or you anyway. But anyway, no. Whoops. So but they're in the old days, you could be like the number 1 draft pick, and you come into camp, and you're the rookie. They haze you. They
interesting.
make you carry all the bags for all the veterans. And they come up and say, Coach, what do you need, Coach? Yes, sir, Coach. Yes, sir. I'll do it. Well, now you got players coming in, the top end anyway. Now, that bottom end we were talking about, they're in there saying, yes, sir, Coach. Yes, sir, Coach. Top end comes in. They've been making $1 to $5 million a year now with the NIL deal. They're making money. They're making more money in college than these guys are making their career almost, maybe.
They're walking in with their diamond encrusted Crocs and stuff.
Yeah. That was quite a sight, the draft day. But so I'm painting all that picture to get you an idea of what I'm getting to tell you happened. So apparently Shedeur didn't win some of the teams he interviewed with before draft, right? That's all part of the process. I think he might turn them off a little bit.
Yeah.
And then maybe some he didn't even interview with because
he thought he's too good. Turned his nose up at him. Yeah.
No, again, he didn't come off that way, but I think it was strategic by him and his dad.
Okay.
Led by his dad.
Yeah.
I really think he's a good guy. I really do. But I think he got swept up in overvalue.
Yeah. Maybe.
But what happened to him is, and this is where a lot of those announcers and analysts got angry. They were upset that so you just knew at least he's probably going to be his name called in there are 2 or 3 teams that needed in the first 10 draft, number 1 through 10 needed quarterbacks.
Okay. So they were expecting him to he picked pretty quick.
Yeah. Maybe not as high. Maybe some of them picked down to 17 maybe because they knew a team had to have a quarterback.
Yeah.
And if they could get him at 17, what a steal, right?
Yeah.
Probably won't be there, but so there's all this talk for weeks, and especially on draft. And each draft, each
round.
Yeah. Well, during the first round, each pick. Boom, boom, boom. It wasn't him. They got to a team that needs a quarterback, and they picked another quarterback, different quarterback.
Okay. Yeah.
Jackson Dart went. Is the big one that they moved up. The Giants got him, right? I think that's who picked him.
Okay.
Yeah, Giant, and they
cool name. Great name.
Yeah.
So many great names on this podcast that we talk about.
Anyway, so make a long story short, they went through the entire first round.
Yeah.
And so now it's going, this is crazy. I don't understand it. He should have been picked.
Yeah.
Second day comes out.
How did no one go to prom with my daughter, my son? Yeah.
Day 2, second round, and third round. They do second, third. Yeah. And then fourth, fifth, sixth, second, third, and fourth on the second day. Okay.
You're saying all those rounds went by, still wasn't picked?
Second day round. They just knew he was going to come in the high second round. Sure, because there's 2 teams that definitely need quarterbacks, need somebody to develop. They got an old guy or whatever. Different quarterback gets drafted. Second round, man. Third round, fourth round. We were into Saturday, and they haven't picked.
Wow.
Or late Friday night. Saturday. I think it's Saturday morning. Fourth round, fifth round.
Wow.
Pick number 144.
Okay.
Probably one of the most screwed up franchises in all of the NFL. The Cleveland Browns draft him number 144.
That's awesome. Is that one that his dad was trying to keep him away from?
Sure, I gotta be. I mean, the point is, it's never happened before.
Yeah. Because
he really should have been drafted. Honestly, if he didn't have all that, everything around him, the circus and all the strong arming and the NFL. I'm not saying they colluded and got all together and talked about it, but they protect the shield. They call it the NFL. The NFL's got the shield.
It sounds like you're talking about it as a brand. They're trying to protect the brand image. Is that what you're saying?
Just not even the image. It's the shield.
Like, what do you mean by the shield?
Shield, meaning the NFL. That you pay if you're in the NFL and you're a player and an owner, but you're that. It means something. No, the NFL, the brand is bigger than any individual player and even any individual team.
It's like there's a code of honor kind of thing.
There's a code of something. There's a code that you 1 or 2 people are not going to dictate what we do.
Yeah. So basically, you think most of the NFL was kind of everybody's kind of feeling like, who is this guy coming in here? We're going to send a message and say something.
You said the word. I've been waiting because that's all that went out. They said message sent, message delivered.
Okay.
I mean, clearly 144. Oh, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
They drafted, I can't remember, 5, 6, 7, 8 other quarterbacks. And it was a weak quarterback draft this year.
Oh, like there weren't
that many good ones. Yeah, great ones. So they were like 7 or 8 other quarterbacks went before he did.
Is it that? Is it really that they wanted to send a message? Because I mean,
yes. You get to the 5th round, you're picking Billy Bob from Texas Tech at El Paso at Greenwood Avenue Drive.
Online, yeah.
Right. That's who you're
online football team.
at the QB level anyway, if you're that deep into the draft.
Okay, but if I'm a coach or an owner, I think I could let down my pride a little bit to say, okay, look, he's a decent quarterback. We need it as a decent quarterback. Screw this sending a message thing. Let's get the quarterback before somebody else snags him, right? That's ridiculous to say.
That's what some of the people are. That's what Stephen A. Smith and these others that are so big name, they are ticked off and cannot believe they let that happen. But that's exactly what happened. There's no way. They were not going to allow Deion Sanders.
Like I'm trying to get behind that narrative, but still out of self-preservation, I feel like I would have to be like, okay, guys, come on, we need a quarterback.
I think the scouts and the analysts who really broke down every snap, I think they felt that there was, you know what I mean? It wasn't, they were okay to wait for next year, some of them.
Wow.
Because we do have looks like a big class coming next year.
Okay.
Strong.
Interesting.
So
well, shoot.
Believe me, it was a message. It just doesn't happen. You just don't go 143 picks, not pick the one who they thought might go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah. Well, as this girl at my work says, that's drama.
This is drama. Exactly, yeah. It was drama. Now, he was class act. So a little side note, and this is cruel, and I'm just terrible they did it. And I don't even name the franchise. I think I know who it was, but it was the son of a 21-year-old son of one of the coaches on another franchise. Somehow got Shedeur's phone number. So that's the big thing, by the way. We didn't even talk about that. But the round one, the ones you think are going to go in the top 32, they invite them to the location.
Okay.
And they got them in these rooms. It's terrible. Cameras on them, and they're waiting for their name to be called.
Oh, so Shedeur was one of those?
No, I don't think he went this time. He didn't because they decided not to go anyway. But there's been others who've sat there and gone through the whole first round, and they're like the only one that's.
So you're actually on the playground, and
you're at the table, and the table's empty, and you didn't get called the first round.
That's sad.
That's rough. Yeah. So some choose not to go. I think I love one guy got picked like 8, and then he said, "I'm not around." He was out fishing on a boat in Minnesota lakes, big old lineman.
That's awesome.
And he didn't find out because he didn't have cell signal until he came in late that night from fishing. I loved him. But they have all these cameras in a lot of the kids' homes. Yeah. And then they have family celebration. It's really sweet and cool sometimes. But of course, Shedeur's they had it. But anyway, so they have that's important to know that goes on there. There's a certain amount of their live.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's great. Now, Cleveland, it's a good pick. Cleveland's lucky. Yeah. They desperately need. They got some temporaries in there, but they need a quarterback.
But they went a few rounds without picking them, so right?
Yeah,
so I mean,
but because they have so many other needs. But
yeah, I was gonna say, is there going to be that tension when Shedeur walks in?
So that's what I was saying about what a class act he was. He thanked God, and he thanked his family, and he was grateful for the Browns, and looked forward to go earning his keep. And he said all the right things.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
he played ball.
He perfectly, and which I tell you, I think that's what he's like. I really do. What I was telling you about is that kid got the phone number, so I had to set that up.
Oh, sorry,
because the teams call and they'll get him on the phone. This is Joe Smo from the Green Bay Packers. This is before it happens on TV. We're going to pick you number 39 in this round 2. It's coming up. We're picking you. So we're excited to have you.
Give him a heads up.
Head coach on there. We love you. We can't wait to have you at camp. And just get ready. And then they go all crazy. And then 2 or 3 minutes later on TV, you'll see them picked.
Yeah.
That's how that works.
Okay.
Right? So, this kid did a fake call.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and it's
just
recorded.
Some random kid?
Well, no, he works for an assistant. He's the son of an assistant coach.
No.
I won't even name the franchise. Assistant coach. Yeah, believe me, it got found out pretty quick. And Shedeur was suspicious. Yeah. He could tell it didn't seem right and it didn't sound right. And he kind of blew it off in the end, even though it's recorded and people started throwing it social media real quick.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it got bad for just a short period of time. They found out who it is, and the kid is apologized. Again, I think what a class act Shedeur is in some ways, through their intermediaries, he had apologized, and Shedeur said, that's fine. 21-year-olds, we do dumb things sometimes. I mean, it's just a class.
Man.
He even ended up taking the phone call from the kid.
Oh, really?
And accepted an apology, privately on the phone, just the two of them. Okay. So that shows you a lot.
Yeah. Shedeur's winning me over. Yeah. Okay.
That shows you how crazy this whole thing gets.
Man.
But that was the big, and so this has never happened before. No one had ever been slotted, especially quarterback, to go early. Even if it did slip into number 15, 20, they said that could happen. There were some teams that were questioning his level, his ceiling, as they say.
So then on top, then to get picked so late, and on top of that, get pranked by this.
Oh my gosh,
this
that's
kid.
That's a rough couple days.
That's emotional,
and I think he really showed his class, and so I hope he does well, and I think it'll pipe down his dad some. Because he said his dad said, oh yeah, he'll be picked by the 5th pick. I guarantee it. And he went on and on for days and days. And
if I was good enough to play in the MLB and the NFL at the same time, I'd probably have a big mouth too. So, and if I had two kids
I like Prime. I think he's great for young men. Yeah. But he definitely got out of control on this one. And you can imagine a father, right, who had all that success. I was
so proud.
Anyway, so that's it. That's all I got to say about it. Other than this, it's like spring training and baseball every year, Major League Baseball. The draft is like that in that sense. For hope springs eternal. Even though your team sucked and it was the worst team ever last year, spring training, we made a bunch of trades. We drafted in baseball.
Yeah, so it's a little spark of hope.
Yeah, so for the teams that have suffered, they get all excited and they
fresh blood.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So well, speaking of which, let's talk on a personal note. What's going on with the Panthers? Did they get anything exciting?
Well, the analysts gave them about a C rating. So they got a great receiver. Okay. They thought the word is they got him a little too quick, maybe. They thought they call it reaching. They reached maybe. They could have waited for him and got him. Good. So it looks like they did okay, but you never know. Like I said, some of this, especially quarterbacks, it is a crapshoot. So you just don't know. Quarterbacks seem to wash out about a 50% rate.
Okay. Wow.
You hit about a 50%.
Like marriage.
1 out of 2.
Yeah. From what I hear from the stats.
Marriages. Yeah. Hey, I think we do need to shout out.
To who?
Me and Mom.
Oh yes.
Come on, man. 2 days ago.
Gosh. Yeah. Well, happy anniversary, Mom and Dad. This is huge. 40 years, if I'm allowed to say.
Absolutely. 40 years. Mom's younger than I am. 40 years.
That is crazy too. I remember as a kid we had a party for Grandma and Grandpa for their 50th anniversary.
Yes.
So that's crazy to think you're only a decade away from that.
Anyway.
How are you feeling?
I feel good. And I mean this sincerely. She's the best. I mean, 6 children, 13 grandchildren. I don't know how she does it all. She just loves her greatest strength next to her relationship with God and Christ is the relationships she builds with you children and grandchildren. That's for sure. It's that she is, you're talking about Hall of Famers in sports. That's where she falls.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then I'm just the guy that, tries to support and help. And she comes up with crazy ideas to do right before we come to Utah, try to help support getting that project done or things like that.
Yeah.
No one invests in relationships of her children or family like she does.
Well, love you, Mom. I agree.
Love you, sweetie.
And Dad, you're the man too. So thanks for.
Well, she says you're my number one backer, so I appreciate it. But we had to shout her out, right?
Yeah. Well, it's amazing. Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, speaking of just true tests of endurance and even athleticism at times raising us. You guys, it's crazy. You've gone 40 years and taking care of each other.
We really. It's true. As your marriage, the deeper you get in it and the more you commit to it, the more faithful you've been, and the more trust that's been built, the greater the joy. I mean, we had some private things we wrote each other in the cards, but it really touched me because she's right. You think you knew what love was when you got married.
Yeah.
Now I think we do know now.
Cool.
And it's great. I mean, it's great. I mean, we're having a blast. Cool. We're tired a little more often, chasing all his grandchildren and stuff. But no, we just really enjoy being with each other still. I don't know how many marriages. I think there's a lot of good ones out there, but I even see those who've been married a long time. Some they don't look too happy with each other, and they don't do much together. And Mom needs a break from me quite often, but we really enjoy each other's company. We had laugh and fun, and she makes fun of me because
you guys are little jokesters. It's fun. It's cute. It's cute to watch. So we'll have to get you both on the show here soon, so people can feel your 40-year dynamic.
Don't wait till 50. So we need to try now. I might not be able to put a sentence together another 10 years.
Yeah.
So last, do you have more questions about the draft? Or
I had a joke that I've already forgot, but yeah, no, this is great. So playground metaphor. Shedeur was very classy for getting picked so close to last and still being so classy and
Yeah,
tasteful
he
in
really
his
was.
reactions to stuff. So go. Hey, I'm a Shedeur fan at the moment. And am I saying that right?
Shedeur.
Shedeur. How's it
Shedeur.
spelled?
I wrote it down because
Is it O-U-R at the end? Is that what you're saying it like
not
that?
O. It's Shadeur.
Oh, so it's kind of
like
French.
French.
Yeah, Shedeur. Yeah.
I don't think they ever called
Shedeur.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
Pretty
Well,
cool.
yeah, that's great. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Oh my
The
gosh,
last
it's
thing-
almost been an hour.
I know. I cannot believe that. So
Okay.
we'll talk about the NHL and the NBA playoffs next week.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fun things, and our Hurricanes are 3-1.
They're doing
Yep,
good.
we need one more win. They're 3-1 in the tournament.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing I was going to say about it. If anybody even thinks they're interested in hockey, take a look at the Western Conference. This is fascinating. Western Conference playoffs. There's 4 different playoffs going on games, right? 8 teams. All the series are tied 2-2.
Oh, okay.
All 4.
That's cool. That's fun. Yeah.
East, there's 2 of them that are 3-1, and then 2 that are 2-2. Or
so for people who don't know that you do 2 home games for each team.
You taught this last week, so that's why I was bringing it up.
Yes, yeah. I can't remember if you said this, but yeah, the series of 7 best of 7 games in the Stanley Cup starts with 2 home games for whoever the higher ranked team is.
Right.
Then they go away. So the first 2 Carolina games are in Carolina, and then they went to New Jersey for their games 3 and 4 against New Jersey. And then if they're still tied, which sounds like all these Western teams are, you've got they go back home, back away, back home to the top seed. So anyways, all the fan bases get crazy excited. It's very tense because everything's on the line every game. So
a lot of fun.
Yeah.
NBA we'll talk about briefly,
Yeah, NBA.
Yeah.
Schmembia.
That's it. I can't believe we went that long. I think I need to offer an apology or something. But
thanks everybody for joining. Thank you, Dad.
Yeah, it was great. See you, Coop.
See you, Dad.
SportSense.